this week, which is a topic for the defense. And as I normally say, if you're watching this video on YouTube afterwards and wish to join these lessons, send me an email to the address on the screen, and I'll let you know when I'm doing these weekly lessons. Second-hand play is described as a guideline for the defense. And the main guideline is that second hand should normally play low. That is to say, if declarer leads a low card, don't waste your honors if you're the second hand to play. But cover an honor with an honor if it might promote a trick for you and your partner. So that's a good guideline info for you to try and follow when you're on defense. And second hand low is actually often quite a good guideline for declarer. What I mean is, in a situation like this, imagine you're declaring 3-no trump as south, dummy's got the queen 4-2. If the opponents lead the 6 of spades, you have a choice of what to play. You could play low and try and win it with the king, or you could play the queen. But generally speaking, you've got the king and the queen, and it's generally a good idea to play low from dummy, planning to play the king. I mean, a couple of good things could happen. One thing is, if you play low from dummy, East might play the ace anyway, and then you get 2 tricks with the king and queen. Or if you play low and suppose they play something like the jack, you can beat that with the king, but you still may get another trick with your queen if the is on your left. So if the layout is, sorry, I'm just muting everyone again. So if the layout is something like this, you can win the king, and then if you lead this suit again, or the opponent's lead suit, you may get a second trick with the queen. So that's for declarer. But in a situation like this, where you're declarer and you've got, say, the ace in one hand and the king in the other, you can do whatever you like because you can see both hands. If they lead the 6 of spades, you can win this one in dummy with the ace if you want to have the lead in dummy, or duck from both hands, or win the first trick with the king if that's what you wish. But as a defender, of course, you can only see one hand, and that's why we use this guideline of second hand low. So what we're talking about is a situation like this, where you are west here, and you've got the king 10-6 in your hand, and at some point, declarer leads the 3 of spades from their hand towards the ace queen 2 in dummy. And in fact, I've got the first poll of the evening. When the 3 of spades is played, what should West play here? Are you going to play the king, the king, the 10, or the 6? So I'm going to launch that poll, and you just answer which spade you think you should play. And most of you, 66%, have gone for the 6, but a fair number have decided to play the 10, and 5 people have decided to play the king. And the correct thing is, of course, to play low, to play the 6 here. What is declarer going to do here? He's presumably going to play the queen from dummy, or possibly the ace, but it's you playing the 10, for example, is a complete waste of your 10. Declarer is not going to try to play low here. So just play low. And of course, there's absolutely no merit at all in playing the king here. That will just lose to the ace, and you may easily be giving declarer a trick he doesn't deserve. So just play low here. And the minority of you who decide to play the king or the 10 definitely need to look at that again. There's really no merit in playing high in this situation, either the king or the 10. Just play the 6. On the other hand, let's suppose your holding is the same, but this time declarer leads the jack. Well, now there is a merit in you to play the king, because even though that will force out the ace, it may promote a trick with your 10. If the layout is, if you've got the king 10, can you see that even though the ace takes the first trick, later on, you may make a trick with your 10, depending on the exact layout. But if declarer cashes the queen, for example, that promotes your 10. Just think about what will happen if you don't cover. If you let the jack go, declarer will presumably run the jack and then finish again, then play again, winning the second trick with the queen and the third trick with the ace. And you don't really have any chance of making a trick there unless you cover. Failing to cover here is one of the most common errors that I see. People are reluctant to cover an honor with an honor, and you should get into the habit of doing that if it might promote a trick for you or your partner. What about this one? This time you've got the king 7-4, and again, declarer leads the jack from their hand. And I've got the second pole here. What should you play from your hand? The king, the 7, or the 4? So let me launch the second poll. So the majority here, 64%, have said the king, and 36% have said you should play low. And I'm sorry to say that the 36% of you who said to play low are wrong, have made a mistake. You cover here an honor with an honor because it may promote a trick for your partner. If the layout is something like this, just think about it. If the jack is played and you play the king, it loses to the ace. Now your partner, because they've got the 10, will make another trick in their suit. It's promoted the 10 for your partner. But if you fail to cover, if you just play low, the jack will win the trick. Declarer will then lead the spade again and finesse the queen and then take the ace. And then they've actually got a fourth trick. So it's a bad mistake to play low here. And as I said, it's one of the most common errors I see, failing to cover an honor with an honor. Now, it won't always help you. It could be that the layout is something like this, where declarer's got the jack 10, 9, 8. And now I hope you can see you're never going to make a trick with your king. But it won't cost you anything either to cover here. So you should cover because your partner may have the 10 and it may promote a trick for them. Do interrupt me if you have any questions on that. How about this one? This time you've got the king 7-4-2 and declarer leads the queen from their own hand towards dummy. And the question is, what should West play? Are you going to play the king or are you going to play a low card? I can see someone sent me a chat, but just unmute yourselves if you wish to ask a question, because I can't really look at chats while I'm running the session. But the subject for the next poll is, what should West play here? Are you going to play the king, the 7, the 4, or the 2? Let's have a look at the results. This time, 31% of you have played the king and the rest have played low. And yes, that's right. This time, there is no point covering the queen with the king because it cannot promote anything for your side. You can see the ace jack 10 in dummy. So if you play the king, they'll just beat it with the ace, and then they've got the jack 10-9. And there's no prospect of you promoting anything. On the other hand, if the layout is something like this, and they've say only got 2 spades in the south hand, if they lead the queen and you let it win, they will lead the suit again and win the second trick with the 10, let's say, and they can cash a third trick with the ace, but they can't take a fourth trick. So here, you don't cover an honor with an honor because it cannot promote a trick for your side, for you or your partner. And in fact, you will gain a trick here possibly if the layout is something like this. Do interrupt me if you're having any questions on any of that. And I'd also like to look at this kind of layout here where declarer, say, has got the jack 7-2 in dummy and you've got the king 5-3. So let's suppose at some point declarer calls for the jack from dummy. I've got the next pole for you as east. What do you think you should play? The king, the 5, or the 3? Let's have a look at what you've put. And 65% of you have decided to play the king, and the rest of you have played low. And 65% are correct. You should cover here because it may promote a trick for your side. The layout could be very similar to what we were looking at before, where declarer's got the ace, queen in one hand and the jack opposite that. If you play low, can you see again that the jack's going to win the trick? They will then finesse again with the second trick with the queen and then the ace. And in fact, they'll make all 4 tricks. But here, because your partner may have the 10, you should cover the jack with the king. They'll win that, but now it's promoted the 10 of spades for your partner. So again, you should cover in this situation too. And just get into the habit of doing it. If it could possibly promote a trick for your side, it's something that you should do. The layout might also be something like this. I've seen this happen quite a lot, where declarer has got the jack in one hand and the queen in the other and hopes to make a trick here. Well, the right thing to do here, if they play the jack again, is to cover the jack with the king. Then they won't make the jack. And then later, if they lead the suit or you lead it, your partner will win the ace, beating the queen, and they won't make any tricks in this suit. If you make the mistake of playing low here, what will happen? Well, the jack, you'll play low. Your partner can win that trick with the ace, that's true. But now declarer can make a trick in this suit by later leading towards the queen. And now they will make one trick. So it's another example of playing second hand low, but covering an honor with an honor, if it could promote a trick for your side. So it's wrong there to play low because you will give a declarer a chance to make a trick with their queen later on.
Isn't it wrong of declarer to lead the spade in the first case?
Well, obviously, this is a suit. You're quite right, Morris. If this is a suit, if you were declarer, you would not want to lead. Yeah. In fact, if you don't lead this suit, you will always make a trick in it if the opponents lead this suit. But it may be that right at the end, you have no option but to play this suit. And there, if you do play the suit, then if they don't cover an honor with an honor, or if you lead the 2 of spades and they go up with a king, say, then you will make a trick there. But yes, this is not an attractive suit for declarer to lead. And you generally do better staying away from leading these very weak suits. Let the opponents lead that. And you should make one trick there. As you know, in bridge, there are always exceptions. And one situation where you should not play second hand low is when you've got 2 touching honors. So just imagine this is the layout in say a 4-heart contract. It could be no trump as well, but just imagine they lead the 2 of spades here, and this time you've got the king queen. And generally speaking, if you have 2 touching honors, it's right to do what's called splitting your honors, play one of your honors. Just think about it. If this is the layout in, this is a side suit, say in 4 hearts, if you play low, they will presumably play the jack or the 10, and then they can win the second trick with the ace. And after that, you might not make any tricks if they're able to ruff. So here you should split your honors, play the king or the queen. That will force out the ace, but now you will make at least one trick for your side, whereas you might not make any tricks if you play low. So that's an exception to the rule of playing second hand low. If you have 2 honors, it's generally right to split them, and it will help in a situation like this. I want to look at at least one hand involving a full hand, and this was one that I sent out at the weekend, and it involves a decision about second-hand play coming up later on. But to start with, let's have a look at the bidding on this one, where North opened a diamond, you overcalled a heart. That's a slightly light overcall, but I like that. South bids a spade. Your partner supports you with 2 hearts. North bids 3 clubs, and South now bids 3 no trump. So you're defending against 3 no trump. Your partner West leads the 5 of hearts. Declarer calls for the 6 from dummy, and you have to decide what to play. And the next poll in this this evening is, which heart do you think E should play here? You've got a choice of 5 cards here. 1 answer is right and 4 are wrong. So here comes the poll, and the question is, what should East play here? Let's have a look at what you've put. And the majority have put 57% have gone for the 8, with a number going for the 10 or the queen, and 1 person going for the 3. Well, let's switch back to the hand. And actually, I'll just click here on the double dummy solver. And it's telling me that I'll be able to defeat the contract, but I must play the 10, the 9, or the 8. It's completely unnecessary to play the queen here, because you've got the jack trapped in dummy. So normally you would play, if you just had the queen and the 10, you would play the 10. But third hand should actually play as high as necessary to win the trick. And that makes the right card to play here the 8. Yes, the 8 is a correct card to play. Although the 10, the 9, and the 8 are all equivalent, if you play the 10, for example, you're telling your partner that you don't have the 9. So the best card to play here is indeed the 8. Well done to the 57% of you who said that. And let's suppose the 8 holds the trick, and you now lead this suit back. Well, this time I am going to play the queen back, so I don't want to risk the jack being able to make a trick. So I play the queen, and the king comes out, and Declarer wins that trick with a king. And now I'd like to look at the hand from West's point of view, your partner's point of view.
Sorry, Tony, before you move on, the North playing the 6 of hearts, isn't it better to have always play the jack of hearts? So if you only have a jack and a 6?
No. I mean, you haven't seen what Declarer has in their hand, and it's not correct that you should play the jack rather than the 6 there.
Okay.
I mean, it depends, on the layout of the cards, but it's not obvious. It's not automatic for Declarer to play the jack here. I mean, you suspect as Declarer that East has got the strong heart holding. So if you play the jack, it will probably lose to the queen anyway. Or if you play low here, it might give that, they may make a mistake and play the 10. We'll look at the whole hand at the end, but it's not right to say that you should play the jack there. It depends. But getting back to the situation at trick 3, now Declarer has just won the heart trick, and they now lead the 5 of diamonds. And now I'm going to ask you what West should play. Should you play the ace or the 4 here? And this is the final poll of the evening. What should West play at this trick? Let's see what you put. And by a slight majority, 56%, you've gone for the ace rather than the 4. Well, let's switch back and see if we can figure this out. Well, what do we know on this hand? Well, your partner started with presumably at least a 5-card heart suit, while you, West, started with only 3. And you have to think about what's going on here. Well, it's quite likely that South doesn't have the king of diamonds. If you think about it, if South did have, say, a couple of diamonds, it's quite likely that they would start by winning in the shorthand with the king and then crossing over to dummy. So it's quite possible that you have the ace of diamonds and that your partner has the king of diamonds. And in that case, what has to happen on this hand for you and your partner to take their heart tricks is that you have to try and win this trick while you still have a heart. So the correct play here, which will, in this case, defeat the contract, is for you to go up with the ace while you still have a heart. So we'll take our ace and then lead our heart. And your partner here plays the 9 and it forces out the ace. But now, if I bring up the 4 hands, you'll see that if Declarer now tries to make any tricks in diamonds now, your partner has the king and they can gain the lead and defeat the contract by cashing their last 2 hearts. They'll make the last 5 hearts. Declarer is going to make the rest, but you'll make 5 tricks there. So if we go back to the point here where Declarer leads diamonds for the first time, let's go back to here. If I click on the double dummy solver, it will tell me that you can only defeat this contract if you play the ace, and you won't be able to defeat it if you play low. If you play low, your partner can win this trick with the king, but later when you get in with your ace of diamonds, you won't have any more hearts. So this is an important exception to the time that you should consider playing second hand high so that you can lead the heart suit while you still have some left. Okay. Any comments on that? And if I go all the way back to the beginning, let's think about this. It could be a good strategy here when they lead a heart to play the jack. If West has led away from the queen here, you can make a 3rd trick if you play your jack here. So that could be the right thing. Although based on this bidding, I strongly suspect that East has got the queen there, and so there's not much point playing the jack. In fact, they may make the mistake of playing their queen even if I play low, if they, as some people did in answer to the quiz. So there's no hard and fast rule about how Declarer should play this. You need to think about where the queen is likely to be and things like that. Any other questions on any of that?